Hey guys, this is Mrs. Harbin, and today you're going to learn about another law that helps us solve non-right triangles. This is the presentation for 1.6, Law of Cosines. Our life application is this. The student will be aware of angles in creation. Just as each geometric angle has a precise measurement when properly aligned with the measuring tool, protractor, so too the angle that the student's life takes will have a precise direction if he is properly aligned with God's Word. Using a protractor and measuring angles is a great metaphor for aligning our own personal decisions and our own choices with God's Word. Make sure that we are doing things accurately and precisely. Our lesson objective is this. You, the student, will solve triangles using the law of cosines. So let's get started. For any triangle ABC, where side lengths opposite angles A, B, and C are lowercase a, lowercase b, and lowercase c, respectively, then this law applies. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of A. The law of cosines can also be written in terms of b squared and c squared. B squared would be equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. And c squared is similar, except for the minus 2ab cosine of c. So whatever side length you put up here, that's the cosine that we're finding, b, b, c, c. And whatever side length you put here is omitted from the multiplying by 2. So here we're squaring c, and here we have 2ab. Here we're squaring the b, and if we look, b is omitted. It's just 2ac. So let's do an example. We're going to solve triangle FDG if f is 8, d is 4, and g is 10. So we know our three sides, but no angles. We cannot use the law of sines without any angles, so we're going to use the law of cosines. We have f squared equals d squared plus g squared minus 2dg cosine of f. Now we could have started with any of those sides, but since f was listed first, let's go ahead and start with f here. I'm going to substitute in our numbers and then do some operations to simplify this. We get 64 equals 116 minus 80 cosine of f. We're trying to get down to cosine of f so that we can find the value of angle f. So let's combine like terms here. Divide both sides by negative 80. If we divide both sides by negative 80, we should get the cosine of f is 0.6500. Now to find exactly what that f is, if we type this number into our calculator and use the cosine to the -1, basically that inverse cosine button, it will take our cosine ratio, which we've just been given, and go in reverse and tell us what the angle measure is. For most of you, to get to this button on your calculator, you're going to have to use the second function key to get to that button. Using that button, we get that the measure of angle f is approximately 49.45 degrees. Alternatively, if you don't have a calculator with you, in the back of your pre-cal book or online, you can find a chart of trig values. And if you go down the cosine column until you get to 0.65, you'll see that the measure of this angle, again, is approximately 0.49.45 degrees. And once we know the measure of angle f, we still have two more angles that we need to find. So this time we're going to put g first and solve for cosine of g. Plugging in our values that we know, we're going to follow the same exact steps to isolate cosine of g, and then use that inverse cosine function on our calculators to get that the measure of angle g is approximately 108.21 degrees. Measure of angle d, we don't need to use the law of cosines for. We can just use the fact that triangles' angles add up to 180 degrees to figure out that the measure of angle d is approximately 22.34 degrees. Now that we have all of these pieces of information, the three sides and the three angles, we can consider this triangle solved. Go ahead and try example number 2 on your own. Pause this video and see if you can solve for triangle ABC If angle A is 63 degrees, side B is 12, and C is 9. Where should we start? Well, we're given angle A, which will be easy to find the cosine of, so let's start by solving for side A. This is the formula that you're going to use. Pause here and see if you can figure this out on your own. All right, let's see how you did. Plug in the numbers that we know. We're going to leave cosine of 63 alone in parentheses for just now. Combining our like terms. And we get that a squared is approximately 126,938 once we plug that into our calculator. Taking the square root of both sides leads us to that a is approximately 11.3. So now we have all three sides. We still have two more angles. We can use the law of sines here now to help us solve for angle C. Plug in what you know, side A over sine of A, and side C over sine of C. Doing that leads us to sine of C is approximately 0.70965. Using that inverse sine function, we're given the ratio, and now we want to turn this back into an angle measure, so we're going to use that button right there to find out that the measure of angle C is approximately 45.2. And to find that last angle, let's just use what we know about triangles to figure out that the measure of angle B is approximately 71.8 degrees. 71.8 degrees. We now know all three angles and all three sides. This triangle has been solved. Today we saw triangles using the law of cosines along with the law of sines in that second example, and the information that we know about triangles, that their three angles add up to 180 degrees. Remember, a triangle is considered solved when you know all three side lengths and all three angle measures. If you guys have any questions, be sure to ask me next class.